I'm Tamika D. Mallory.
And it's your boy Mysonne, the General.
We are your host of TMI.
Tamika and Mysonne's information, truth, motivation, and inspiration.
New name, new energy, but
same old us. How you doing today, Tamika D. Mallory?
Good. Let's get it.
Let's get it. What's going on with you?
Well, I think the only thing I could tell you about what's going on with me is that as I'm getting older, I have new pains and aches, and when I get out the bed, I have to roll onto the floor and stand up by limbs and then try to like shake it out. My elbow hurts. I'm just trying to figure out what is 45, because it's just a total different feeling. That's all that's 45. Happening with me right now.
I remember 45. It was a different feeling.
It was 45. Knew that you was 45?
I don't know. I mean, I believe I'm in good health. Knock on wood. I've been exercised. I tend to take care of myself, but you don't feel 18 no more. You know what I'm saying?
But I felt 18 at 35.
Yeah, at 35, yeah, because that's still fresh, But after the 40s, you start the bones. You start feeling little creaks and cracks inside your knees, and you ain't got the mega knees. You can't bend over.
No.
You can't. Yeah, it ain't none of that happen. It's just like you can't do certain stretches. Like things start hurting. You just sore for no reason, and so you realize that things are changing.
No, seriously. When I got up this morning, I literally rolled onto the floor, and then I was like, my back. Now I'm like, okay, I need to shift the mattress, but the mattress is new. So I don't even know what's going on. Like, not new as in, well, that's why it's hurting your back or different parts of your body, because it's new and it needs to be broken in. It's broken in. It's been there for a while. Still,
it's supposed to be at this. It's supposed to be at the place where it's right now.
But it's not just there. I mean, I stay in everything from an airport Marriott to a Ritz-Carlton to a St. Regis. Like we are always on the road. So we all know what it feels like to travel. You feel different beds and you get different experiences in the different beds. And sometimes you like, oh my gosh, that was the best sleep of my life. Sometimes even in a nice hotel, you like, this bed is crappy. So I've experienced it all. There's no reason why at every single level I have to roll onto the floor, stretch all of these places. This hurts. That's going on. This isn't the same. It's just not the same. It's just 45 is very clear that it's not the same as 40. It's not.
It's definitely different, and it's Taurus month.
Yes, it's still your month.
And we're approaching my birthday. I'm a man of a particular age. I'm not going to say that right now.
Oh my God, I never met a man that didn't want to tell.
I'm a man
his
of
age.
a particular age. You know what I'm saying? I'm a grown adult man. I'm reaching the midway area of the. Mm-hmm. I'm almost at the 5th floor.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
You're almost at the 5th floor.
I'm almost at the 5th floor.
That 5th floor, they say, is nice.
I mean,
though.
listen, remember, when you look like me, it don't matter. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That boy is sharp. Ain't he looking? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I don't look like what I've been through, but it's a blessing, man. So I'm just trying to enjoy life, enjoy my month, Taurus month. So many people's birthdays. I was just with my man yesterday, his birthday. Shout out to Aaron, his birthday. Like, Raheem Devine's birthday. Like, it's so many people that's Tauruses. You know what I'm saying? That the best.
Shout out to Raheem Devine.
Yeah.
Happy birthday,
Happy
brother.
birthday.
It is. It's a lot of people's birthdays. The Tauruses. Our board chair, sister, friend, Monique Eyelet. It's her birthday as well.
Butter. I was with Butter's birthday. It's so many.
It's a lot of people who have birthdays and that are Tauruses. Y'all are pretty decent people.
We are, man.
I have to say, most of the Taurus folks that I know, I really have. We work well together. We gel, as they say.
Good folk.
But as you reach your 5th floor, we want to wish you many, 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 many years of success and prosperity and blessings and all the things. And happiness, man. Happiness is a thing that's like, whoa, what does it even mean these days? Because it's hard to be happy in a society where, there's so much happening. And, I have to say that when I sit with a group of people who are starving to death with our tax dollars being spent on this experiment or colonial operation that's happening, colonizers operation that's happening to the people of Gaza and the Palestinian people, it's like sometimes you get, and by the way, that same experiment takes place in our nation as well, in different communities. And you get happy and you celebrate. We do birthdays, we do parties, we do fun things. And then you just sit with it like, this place is really, it's ghetto.
Do you realize they said that they were supposed to be introducing a bill to make it illegal to speak against Israel, to protest?
Well, yeah. I mean, I actually was up probably like 3-4 o'clock in the morning researching it, because I was like, let me just make sure of what I'm hearing. The internet can be very dangerous, and words matter. Words are important, because while I do know that based upon what they're attempting to pass in the Congress, that it does mean that they're moving closer and closer to individuals also not being able to say that they're protesting or boycotting. You put it on your social media, you could be in trouble or whatever and all of that. But that's not where they are now. Right now, they're passing a bill that will impact vendors and institutions and college groups, and the dangerous one is journalists. So that means that they assume that you have some level of influence. You are a vendor who refuses to do business with Israel because of their policies and the genocide that's happening to the people, the Palestinian people. So if they know that that's the reason, like, you might be able to get away with just not wanting to do it and saying it wasn't a good business deal, but you cannot say, I will not because I'm boycotting or I do not do business with Israel. Then you can be fined and jailed, for that. And then, beyond that, of course, if you're a journalist and you're doing articles that talks about boycotting Israel and all of that, that's what they're specifically focused on now. But it's the good old saying, once they come for them, they come for you. So it starts off with it just being about this, bigger, larger entities or more organized entities, which probably includes organizations like Until Freedom, who they don't want to be a part of the BDS movement, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. But what eventually we know is that if they start this, then it'll eventually come to, if you're just a person who has a large platform and you use your social media to talk about these things, you can lose your page, then maybe go to jail. So that's why you have to stop it over there. And the real thing is, Mice, if they can do it about Israel, they can do it about somewhere else. They can start saying, if you challenge the president,
just like snatching people off the street because it's literally that's what they're doing.
Kidnap.
If they're kidnapping you for protesting with no due process, no charges or anything, and sending you out, like, that's crazy. It's the same process.
Yeah, I know. Now they have this thing where, like, on YouTube and other places, I realize people are saying the R word. People are saying SA instead of saying, sexual assault or ape. I can't say it, I guess, because it might trigger. And eventually they're going to probably do that with the word genocide as well. It may already be. And, we're really moving into a space. And again, this stuff is supported by both Republicans and Democrats. So, and in the last vote, which Bernie Sanders and a group came together to stop money from going, more aid going to Israel, the Democrats, including the black ones, in fact, it was all the black ones that I saw who were in the Senate that voted for that bill, right? To push for or voted against stopping the aid. So they supported more money going to Israel. So, at this point, you can't even sit up here and say, and it speaks to my thought of the day, you can't sit up here and say, well, No. Don't say that about the Democrats because the Democrats are the party of morality. Man, both sides have very, very fundamental issues. It brings me to my thought of the day. David Hogg, this is a young man who was one of he's a survivor of the Parkland shooting. Mm-hmm. So we know that the Parkland shooting was probably one of the most horrific acts of violence against students, where students were killed. And it was something that sparked a larger movement around gun violence prevention and intervention. It's interesting because even in the Women's March, we were saying we have to focus on gun violence, and people told us that had nothing to do with women's issues. Why y'all want to do gun violence? We don't really. People, matter of fact, we were being told that we were derailing the mission of the Women's March, right? Mm-hmm. And people, they condemned us for attempting to organize largely white women around gun violence. And then when the Parkland shooting happened, there was a big movement. All of a sudden, the world was like, oh, man, we're coming out by the droves, by the millions against gun violence, or in support of gun violence prevention and intervention. And guess what? Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. The thing is, if we had dealt with it at the time when women were raising the issue, when women of color were raising the issue, but that was the issue. That was the problem. They didn't like the fact that we were demanding that the movement address gun violence because it was happening to black and brown kids. And of course, certainly there had been white children who had also been shot and killed, and gun violence is an issue that is across the board, right? And so, but they did not want to deal with Philando Castile, which was a black man who was shot to death with a gun that he told the police officer, I have a gun. And they still, a licensed carrier. They didn't want to deal with that. They didn't want to deal with the black issues. So they condemned us for the idea that we would ever bring gun violence. And then all of a sudden the Parkland shooting happens and white folks was out in droves. So it is what it is. We never want to do anything to protect other people that might also protect us. We feel like as long as it's happening to them, it's cool. But okay, brings me back. Excuse me. Let me get centered on my thought of the day. David Hogg, who is a survivor of the Parkland mass shooting. He is also a vice chair for the DNC. And that's really important because he's a young kid. I think he's like 23 or 5, something like that, years old. Young guy who has, because he became one of the voices that was organizing around mass shootings and violence and shooting in general, guns and all of that, access to weapons. He has risen through the political ranks, and now he is vice chair of the DNC. Big position. He is now raising, or has raised, $20 million to challenge sitting elected officials. So he wants to primary folks. It makes me think of Stephen Green, Reverend Stephen Green, our brother, when he says primary everybody, right? Because here's a problem, right? And there's people that don't like this. In fact, Hakeem Jeffries has probably raised even more money to defend incumbents and make sure that they don't lose their seat to these younger progressives, liberals, or whatever they want to call them. And sometimes they're more conservative voices within the party. So there's two conflicting ideas. I support David Hogg. I support him because what happens is that we have people who have been in the same position for 30, 40 years.
Complacent.
And it is time. Let me tell you, you become not just complacent, but sometimes compromised, even when you are not trying to be like, you're not a bad person. You're not a scammer or a shiesty or any of that. But because of relationships you've built over all of these years, because of your funders and your position in different places and battles that you've been in where you learned that that's too hot. You once said something to me that was so powerful, that the reason why little kids are so much more creative and have so much more opportunity is because they don't know about what could happen if they touch this, if they do this, if they do that. So it's beautiful to watch them as they go through life's challenges and they explore. And sometimes they run up on something good. You know what I'm saying? And so what happens is that compromise or being compromised does not always mean that you're doing something that is, is an attempt to harm the community. What it can mean is that you literally just ain't got that drive to fight this issue because of all the things that go along with it. You know what happens if you stand up to Israel. They're going to label you anti-Semitic. You've watched how that harmed other people's careers. So now you don't want to get into it with that. You know that to get the police to get people to sign to sign a bill or to vote positively for a bill that will hold police accountable, that's kind of a touchy situation, because if you do that, then you're going to have the unions after you, and if you don't have police support, you might not be able to win in the next election. Or you're getting money from AIPAC, from this place, from that place, so it can compromise you. Again, it doesn't always mean you're a bad person, but it does mean that you have been compromised in some way. You need to be challenged.
And you don't even have the will to fight, not even compromise, right? Sometimes losing certain battles and losing a lot, it makes you less, you don't have the vigor that it takes to fight. Like they say, they use young men for war and old men for strategy, right? Right. So they give them certain
strategy.
And that's
exactly right. And that's exactly what it should be. Because we have people, and some people are young and shouldn't be in the positions that they're in. But you should always have to fight and make sure that you show the people that you're still committed to the values that they want to see. You should not just be able to roll over in position. And guess what? If you are about your business and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, the people will defend you. The people will stand up for you, and the people will support you. But the problem is now, and I get it, this is what some people are going to say. They're going to say, oh no, because look at Corey and look at Jamal Bowman and how those two people were challenged, they were primaried, and they didn't win. And so this is why you want to block that and shield them. But the Democratic Party didn't do anything to shield them. The Democratic Party, so you might as well take your chances and be able to show the people that you're committed. They did not do anything to shield the two of them. Maybe with Jamal Bowman, he did get some good endorsements. He did. I'm not saying he didn't. Hakeem endorsed him, but it's not the same thing as throwing down in the district, fighting for that man and standing on business. Because if on one hand, you over here more Zionist than the Zionists, and then on the other hand, you over there talking about, oh, I stand with Jamal Bowman, it's not making sense. It's not adding up, because Jamal Bowman is over here calling out the Zionists for what is happening in this project that is taking place in Israel, Palestine right now. That's what he's saying. So how you doing that? It don't make sense. So my thought of the day today is that I support the young people saying we need to push for at least a battle so that we know that you still have the will to fight and prove to us that you deserve to stay in a seat over and over and over again. And so I think that David Hogg is doing the right thing, that these young people, they are sick and tired of folks who are weak, who are compromised, who are unwilling to get up and say the thing. People don't even want to stand up against, against a certain type of police and power. We just saw it. And I'm not even going, I don't want to disrespect the brother, but we just saw somebody where we were recently when we try to talk about policing, and they want to make sure that they defend the sheriff of the town. So this is a mindset that these young people don't want to be involved in. And guess what? What David Hogg realizes, at least this is what I think, because I didn't talk to him about it, is that if we do not do something, we are going to lose more and more and more. So he's actually helping the Democratic Party by saying, I got to help you get out your own way.
Because the people is not fooled. They see through it. The people you trying to give us as representatives, they don't have the fight that we want. They just don't have it. And if you expect us to vote, if you expect people to go out there and vote, then you got to give them candidates they want. That's the bottom line. That people are rejecting that you're going to cookie cut and you're just going to plant, representatives and people for them to vote for. They just not doing that no more. We're in a time where if you're not moving, talking the way that resonates with me, they will stay home. They showed you I will stay home.
Right. And people want somebody that might have came out the mud. I saw a whole argument going back and forth about this brother Zohan who is running for mayor in New York City. And one of my dear sisters, who I just don't agree with in this, she was like, well, he's been a part of failed campaigns and he didn't do this and he hasn't done that and he don't know this and he don't know that. And so we think that he's the best person for the job. You know what? Yeah. Some people might think that. I think Zohan, my guy is Mike Blake. I'm with him until the last day. Make sure that you rank Michael Blake. I'm ranking him number one. I hope you will rank him number one. But even if not, make sure that you rank him at least number two. Now, I like Zohan, right? I like Adrian and I like Zohan. So I got three people I'm ranking off the bat, right? Because Adrian, as a black woman, I think that she could bring something unique to this city that we have never had, right? Mm-hmm. We've not had a black woman to be mayor of this city. And I just think that when you look at somebody like Tish, and I understand the contributions that Kamala Harris could have made and that other black women that I know can make to our society, mm-hmm. I'm a proponent of pushing black women forward. So I support Adrian Adams as well. And Zohan, I'm watching him. I like Zohan because Zohan is keeping it real. Zohan, he was part of failed campaigns. That means he know about failed campaigns. Exactly. So he might know a little bit about that. Guess what? He might not. He may have ideas because they were saying, other people in this chat, that Zohan has ideas that won't work. That's what we might need.
We want something different. We need something different.
We need something different. We might need people who are willing to try something that is off the wall to help us to get where we have to go. What people do not understand, a lot of our political folks and our political operatives and other elected officials, is that people are rejecting the same old thing. And the same old
status
people.
Quo is over.
They're rejecting it. They don't want it. So guess what? If Zohan or Michael Blake, he can't win because he's to this, to that. He didn't win his last time he ran. I mean, I done heard so many things. Or Adrian, she doesn't have the support. Guess what? Support them. Pour your resources in and then show up, volunteer, support, help, get on the team, get on the transition team and help these people. But folks do not want what they have always had because it is not working. They want something different. Yeah. So I guess the next idea would be run your damn self. Run yourself, sis, because she'll see it and she'll know. Run yourself. Because you do have ideas that's outside of the box. But if you think that this cookie cutter strategy that folks have, people don't want it.
They ain't want it.
Did we not see it in the election that we just had?
They ain't with it.
The people went with, I was going to say whatever. The people went with somebody that I think is a very bad man.
Yes.
Because... And some people went with him. Not everybody, but there was too much of a percentage of people who did. But then other people, they are doing the thing that David Hogg is talking about. They said, you know what? Y'all figure it out. I'm going to just go onto my couch and I'm going to chill out until y'all decide what y'all going to do going forward. And that's something we cannot afford.
We have no time to play around with these people.
No, we need to inspire
people. Because they playing chess
people.
And y'all playing Parcheesi.
Yeah, we need to inspire people.
People need to be motivated. They need to hear new ideas. They need energy.
That's right.
They need not people that's jaded, that's telling you we can't win. They got all the pieces. Nobody wants to hear that.
They don't want to hear that.
They
you got to know all this stuff.
They want to hear.
No, we don't.
Yeah, they want to hear like.
Because guess what?
Africa.
The city of New York, some of these corporations, they already run every single day of a system that's in place. And if you half intelligent enough to hire the right people and then you have a good heart and some innovative ideas, trust me, you can make it happen.
That's right.
I truly believe that. I do not believe that you have to be a career politician in order to get in position and do the right things. I think that there are people who it might be the first time they ever even touch the podium, and they can inspire more, and they might come into the office and say, guess what? We're going to change things around. But they need to be coming from a good moral soul.
And you can tell that when you look at Africa, right? When you look at Ibrahim Traore, right, and you listen to him, he tells you the mind state. He says, yeah, they'll tell you, Gaddafi did it this way, or the president of Haiti did it this way, and they're dead, and this one's locked up. We reject. We're not scared. We understand in order to get what we want, in order to change something, that we might have to lose our lives, and we're willing to do that. That's the energy that we need in this moment. We don't need the old guard telling us, well, that don't work. We tried. You see what happened? No. We want to hear somebody saying, we're going to do the right thing regardless if we have to die doing the right thing. We're going to stand up for the people. We're going to speak the language of the people. We're going to put the laws in place that the people want, that are going to benefit the people. We're not doing status quo. And we don't want nobody that's trying to tell us that we have to do status quo, because we reject it.
Yeah, but leading with a good moral conscience is important, because some of the people that we have in position who've never done these things before, who are the ultimate whatever. I was going to say DEI, but I'm not even doing that, because no. The ultimate disasters, they don't have a good moral soul, a good moral compass, and therefore their way of doing things, the new way, is to hurt, harm, and destroy. We're looking for people who have a new way of doing things, new ideas, fresh ways of being, but they want to do right by the community, the people, and the most disadvantaged. These people that some folks, I'm not talking about my friend, I'm just talking about some folks, the people that they want to push, they're the same people that support that nonsense that's happening in Israel, Palestine. They're the same people who will stand there and continue to inflate the police budget. They're the same people running around talking about, I'm running on the anti-Semitism line. Like, what is, I get the concept of fighting for the protection of all citizens, including our Jewish brothers and sisters. But what are y'all talking about? Like, come on, let's be for real. And you think when those types of people are running for office, what you think the rest of society looks at us and says, this has got to be a joke.
Yeah. We very unserious.
This has got to be a joke. I don't even want you to run on the anti-black racism line. I don't even want that. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for you to do is have baked in all of your policies a way to make sure that all people are safe, and not to leave black folks or students who are protesting against something that they know with their own eyes is wrong. That's what we're looking for. So, we just live in a society that's just so, and it's like everything you say and do, the twisting of the words and the ideas. God help us, God help us.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And speaking of a lot, the TMI today, is it too much? Or some people might say, hey, get over it. Dogs on planes.
You can't stand it.
I don't have a problem with dogs on planes. I don't have a problem with dogs on planes. People have their dogs. I've been traveling with dogs forever. And sometimes, even though I don't deal with dogs at all.
No, you don't.
I don't deal with dogs at all.
At all.
But sometimes people get on the plane, a little cute dog. I look at it and I'm like, this is a cute little dog. And me and the dog be like, okay, you cool, whatever. It's not a big deal. People don't, generally their dogs don't bother anybody, right? But this new thing that's happening, and it's been going on kind of inching for a few years, and now it has become like I don't even understand what's going on here. Where people's dogs are this big dogs, long dogs, big old, like not baby dogs that people are getting on the plane with and either stuffing them a little bit up under the seat, or the dog's face is out in the aisle, out in different ways. I was on a plane the other night where a woman fell almost to her face. People had to grab her because this couple had a dog so big that the man couldn't fit his foot in the aisle. And so his foot was kind of out, and the woman tripped over his foot as she was coming down because the dog was just that big in the two seats.
That was like Marmaduke. man.
This is, and it wasn't, you know what, honestly, it wasn't one of the big dogs, but it was still too big to fit under the seat properly. So the man was like trying awkwardly to get his feet positioned somewhere. And I think that, I think it's doing too much, but the rest of people might look at me and just like, oh, you're a hater, so what? Just be uncomfortable.
People be serious about their dog.
What happens to the passenger rights? Because now if you apply for a status to say that this dog is your service dog, that you need this dog, then now that just everybody is free to do what they want. So, okay, the woman and the man have the dog sitting there. The dog is halfway out. Now when it is time for us to get off the plane, they have to stand up. You know why? Because there is a woman or man, whatever, that is in the window. They are in the middle and aisle seat, and I'm in the aisle seat where I always am. So they got to get up. They got to get out the way because people are moving around. Now they're standing in the middle of the aisle with this big dog who, one, does what is a damn cardinal sin to me. He gets on, his tail is in my, because he's this long. His tail is in my aisle and his head is the other way. And he does what dogs do, but it's a cardinal sin to me on my damn clothes, is he starts shaking his body and shaking himself, getting up. So now let's just say he doesn't have fleas. What he did have was hair that ended up on my black sweatpants. And I don't have an animal, so I should not have to take home with me nobody's dog's hair. Yeah. So that's number one. Then when it's time for them to start walking, he turns around. He's trying to figure out his way. He's got a big body. And now his face is over here next to me. And I'm like, and a lady says to me, oh, you're fine. No, I'm not fine. I'm not fine because this is inconveniencing me. We're on a plane and now all of a sudden the new rules are, which they never put statements out. I am a diamond member. I'm at the highest level of traveling on Delta. And I have never, ever, ever seen an email that came out from them saying that you will now have to share space with dogs that are damn near your size. I'm not the size of at least a nice sized child. It's not okay with me. It's really not, and I don't care who gets upset because people don't feel and by the way, folks feel like, because what she said to me, I hear all the time, and I've heard it before people got bit. I've heard it before people had a bad encounter with a dog. Oh, you're fine. Oh, she's fine. Or he's not going to do anything to you. But everybody is not comfortable with your pet. It is not a human. I don't care what you say. This is your pet. And everybody is not comfortable with that. And I noticed that this is a normal thing that happens in spaces when somebody's uncomfortable with the animal. It's like people are looking at you like you out of your mind, like it's something wrong with you. I don't want your dog to die. I'm not saying there shouldn't be dogs. I'm saying that it is not fair that I now have to experience something that it really makes me not. I don't like dogs.
We know. We can tell from this conversation that you're not really thrilled with the dog. Tamika doesn't want the dogs on the plane, not the big ones.
I just don't. I feel like if that's what you're going to do, then the people who are sitting next to you need to be informed or something. There has to be more work done. Yeah. Where the people are sitting next to you get the choice of whether or not they want to sit there with your big dog. And it should be somewhere on the ticket. Person will be next to you with a huge dog. This man had a pit bull on the plane in front of me the other day.
Huge dog, pit bull. That's
what
crazy.
In the world are we talking about? All I know about pit bulls is not something that I'm not. Well, I know some people that got some beautiful pit bulls that they love, and I'm sure that's because it's different from the pit bulls that I grew up in the projects with. Yeah. But at the same time, as a person who watched a pit bull bite my sister,
it used to be a pit bull. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It was a guy named Mikey that used to live across the street from me in the Bronx, and his dog would run out the building, and we had a tire that was hooked up to the monkey bars. He had a chain and a tire. And every day, no matter who was in the park, that dog would run, come through the park. The kids would run. He'd just run straight to the tire and hang on the tire for about 45 minutes straight. Mm-hmm. Literally locked, hanging in the air on to the tiger, locked. Yeah. It was the craziest shit I ever seen. and everybody just standing around. He would lock for 45 minutes.
Well, people have been traumatized by stories that they have. You know, I don't play with dogs. It's not my thing. And I feel like, damn, here I am paying whatever, because Delta's tickets, this is not the cheapest airline, right? This is an airline that charges you in comparison to the level of service that they give most of the time. Because I could sit here and say, well, sometimes they don't meet the level. But for the most part, my experience on Delta is decent. It could be cleaner, but it's not the worst, because I've been on some other flights that, oh my God. So they charge for their service. And I don't mind paying, even though I do mind paying, but I pay it because I want to be comfortable as much as I have to fly. But now I'm having to make myself shrink and be to accommodate somebody's pet that is not a Yorkie or a teacup or whatever these dogs, what's the other one? The little cute dog with the face that I love.
The little pound puppy like.
What's that dog called? I love those. Yeah, those are cute, Shih Tzu or Maltese. But I'm talking about the one that costs a lot of money now, and their face is kind of like
with the wrinkled face,
wrinkled up. They're so cute, but people say they're not cute, but they're cute to me.
French bulldog.
French bulldog. No one else cares but me. I'm sure people will tell me that I suck and I'm horrible.
No, I think this is reasonable. If somebody is paying for a ticket, right? Especially you travel in good class most of the time. They should be notified that there's going to be a dog next to them. And I think if a dog is a certain size, then you should have to pay for the seat, right? So that dog has his own space, and then the dog can be underneath the seat by itself, nothing in front of him, not imposing itself on anybody else. I mean, that's just
I
my
agree.
opinion.
The people had to come over to the man with the pit bull talking about, oh, sir, your dog's face can't be in the aisle. This is different people. This is same flight, by the way. There's one big dog here and one man here. They come over to him telling him your dog can't have his face in the thing. And maybe he wasn't a pit bull, but he looked like one. But I know that might not be a thing. And maybe pit bulls are not considered to be, I don't know, companion dogs. I don't know. But anyway, he looked just like a pit bull. So they move your face in. He has to move his face in. Well, the damn dog, it wasn't that the man was purposely just letting his dog hang out. He can't fit.
Yeah.
The space is too tight for my purse.
So we have a guest that's coming up, one of my brothers. I want y'all to pay attention. Smart dude, cool dude, my guy. And today we have not a friend, a brother. This is one of my brothers. We say the word day ones. This is my brother from back in the day ones, from the BD, from the West Side, from Nelson, Miriam, from the playground. We grew up, and just watching who he's become is just amazing. In my journey in music, he was one of the closest people to me, helped me with a lot of ideas, influences. Like, what I'm saying? He was always a cool, we used to call him the young man because he was so cool. He just always cool. Was one of those people, man.
Let's say that.
You still look younger than everybody.
That too, he gassing himself up. But don't worry about it. We ain't going to go
y'all look young. Both of y'all look young.
We outside. You know what I'm saying? We don't look like what we've been through, man. You know what I'm saying?
I like that. And you said day one. I would say day negative, before one.
Before one.
Negative. He was negative.
He
was trying to figure it out.
We was trying to figure it out,
and
man.
we got to one.
And then we got to one.
We got to one because of you. And
well, I appreciate that.
We navigated through.
Man, listen, I'm introducing you. Don't be giving me too much flowers right now, man. Because but I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. My brother Harry O. Wilkerson.
Turn this off.
The CEO of Chase Republic, college professor, entertainment executive, martial artist, and father. Yes. And today we are joined by him to talk about his life, his legacy, his book. It's beyond words. It's the art of calculated communication.
Wow, you've been
Thank
doing
you
this for a
being
while.
here. A little something.
Yeah, look at that.
You know I do this. You know I do this for real, man.
Yes, you do, and I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Tamika, thank you for
Oh,
having me.
thank you for being here.
I
The cool
appreciate it.
Harry O. Everywhere I go, they be like, "Oh yeah, Harry O, that's my guy." Miss Diddy, everybody.
You know, that's really dope to hear. I was just telling somebody, people will meet your reputation before they meet you. You know, your reputation shows up way before you show up. So it's really important to keep that intact. And the way you do that is just be as genuine as possible. Even though we're in this nasty entertainment business, you still just have to, you know, lead with a light about you, have a certain level of integrity. And thankfully to God, I was able to do that. So, you know, people hopefully have some nice things to say about me.
They should give a little background, you know, because we got this book and we know all of these accolades and who you are now, but just give a little background of how you got here and what you went through.
Well, yes, I can tell you a little bit about myself. It's sometimes that's the most difficult thing. Like, you talk about yourself.
I know,
hate to
trust me.
feel like you're bragging and everything. But I'll just give you the short story of it. So I started in the entertainment business as a hip hop artist, as a rapper, right? Very, very young, I had a deal with Uptown Records. That was my first record deal, Uptown Records. You remember James Jones, who lived in 1380? James Jones is
1380, James Jones. This
is-
old school stuff, right?
Yeah, 1380 is a building in the Bronx, and an executive that lived in that building named James Jones, God bless his soul, he was an executive at Uptown Records, right? And he found me, I think I was maybe in 8th grade, I can't remember, and I had a development deal with Uptown Records. That's how I first started in the entertainment business. Then quickly, that went away for whatever reason. Then I had a deal with Motown Records. In between the deal with Motown Records and Kedar Massenburg, I was also working with Puff, with Diddy. We didn't ever sign a deal with Bad Boy, but he would have me in the studio doing a lot of writing, doing a lot of touring, so on and so forth. And I have a relationship with Mice through music, in which we'll talk about as well. So it went from Uptown Records, went to Motown Records, and then Murder Inc. Records is where it ended. I always like to say I got credits in different companies, like a college. Like I got transfer credits from Bad Boy. I got transfer credits from Motown. I got my last 20 credits I needed to graduate, I got with Murder Inc. And then I transitioned into like more behind the scenes, things like that. But that's the short version of how I came about where I am today.
So from the music aspect, what made you say, I'm going to switch course? Like, I'm not going to do this or invest so much of my attention into being an artist?
Good question. So there's two things that happened. One, I became a father, right, to my daughter. But when you are in entertainment and you love entertainment, I always loved to be a part of entertainment. It was just a natural thing to transition into behind the scenes, because one of the things that God gave me as a natural ability, which I transformed into a skill, was connecting with people, knowing how to deal with people. So when I was a hip hop artist, I would build these relationships. Like I used to go down to Def Jam with Mysonne when he had his deal, and I didn't know the effect I was having on certain people, from Chris Lighty, God bless the dead, to Eric Nix. All these people took a liking to me. They liked more of my personality than whatever music we were doing. So as I start to transition out of being an artist, that door was just open for me to walk into being an executive. It was like an easy transition.
Yeah, I was always the person that, like I said, he was the cool dude. He would come in and he always had something to add to something, right? So he would listen. He always paid attention. Like if I was doing music in the studio, he would listen to the beat. He'd be in his own corner, and he'll listen to what I'm saying, and then he'll come say, "You should probably make the chorus like this, or make the melody go like this." And he always added something. So even Chris Lighty would see him doing that. Tone would see him do it and be like, "Your O needs to be around," because he brought something to the table. He was always trying to add a piece to the puzzle. So, like he said, he would come down to to Varick Street. That was like the spot at that time, Def Jam Varick. And he would go in offices and he would build his own relationship with Chris Lighty. He'd be like, "Yo, Mike, I think you should do this with Mike." And he would sit there and say, "Chris, what you think if you did this, if you market this? I think the video should go like this." He always would stay in the end. Then they would ask him questions. Yeah. They would come to him and be like, "What do you think about this?" And he'd be like, "Well, I don't really like that much." Or I don't. And then he started building his own relationships with that. And even so, it morphed. You know, when I got locked up, because O was part of. We had our own thing called the Problem Children, right? So we had 5 different personalities. Everybody had their own personality. Like us traveling was like I ain't even getting into all that. But we had a ball.
Yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like we left the block and we just started exploring life. We was young, 20, 21-year-old kids in Miami.
I probably was 18.
Probably
he wasn't the same age.
Nah.
He probably was a year younger.
21. I was about three
He
years
probably was
younger
like
than Mike.
he's 1 or 2 years younger, but don't gas him. But I'm saying we was just exploring life, and O was always a person to listen and pay attention and add something to it. So it was him becoming an executive and moving into that, you know, to the offices in those buildings. It was natural for me. I already seen that before it happened.
Right.
You know, and then he started hanging with Ja Rule. They met on a set of somewhere.
A movie, yeah.
A movie that
love to tell that
to.
story.
So he gonna tell you that story. But they met, and then they built their own relationship and partnership, and then it went from there.
Like today, I'm a part of like Ja's. Like first, Ja Rule is my brother. Like I always want to make sure
love him.
Yeah, that's my brother. That's the most important element of our relationship. That's my brother. Now, outside of that, my company Chase Republic serves as like an independent agency firm where we do a lot of different deals together. But let me just tell you a quick funny story, and I think I told this a long time ago. So when Mice was signed to Violator, like he said, I was always down in the office. I mean, Chris Lighty is taking a liking to me. Everyone is, loving my ideas. So one day, Chris Lighty and Eric Nick set up a meeting to see if I can get an A&R position at Def Jam. I'm still an artist at the time, so they're like, yo, we want you to meet because we think you're great for this job. Go meet with whoever they want me to meet with. So I get in the guy's office, we're talking. The guy asked me 3 questions, right? He says, what do you think about Cash Money Records? Cash Money they just began. So I said what I said about Cash Money. Then he asked me another question. What do you think about this? I forgot the answer. Then he asked me this 3rd question. He goes, who do you think is going to sell more records, Mysonne or Ja Rule?
Oh, wow.
I'm sitting there and I'm looking at him like, how you ask? You know who I'm with, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, and I'm looking at him like real perplexed. I'm like, Mysonne is selling more records than Ja Rule, easy. He looked at me, he go, all right, cool, it's nice to meet you, whatever. And then that was it.
That was it.
Yeah, I didn't get the job.
I didn't get the job.
And of course, listen, my career got derailed for some unfortunate circumstances. Who knows? Maybe he could have went off and sell more than Ja. But the gentleman knew something I didn't know. All we had was us. Right? Oh, that's all we had.
That's what. But you took the right answer, man. There was no other answer.
I'm gonna ride with my team for every answer. That's my team. But Ja had a different machine with him. Like we had our core and our love, but Ja had Irv's mind. He had Jay-Z. He had DMX. We didn't have any of that in the core. Like DMX became one of our.
I mean, we never had the opportunity to have that.
We didn't have.
That's
the
what I'm saying.
Yeah, y'all didn't get there.
We didn't get
almost.
there. Yeah, we didn't get the opportunity.
Almost.
But Ja is a generational artist.
That's right.
You know, he created his own sound. He created his own lane. And it was always competition like that.
But
when we walked into Def Jam, that's what Ja and this. So we was in competition like fuck all that. You know what I'm saying? So when they built their own relation, I know he probably laughs at that now.
He laughs
when
he
hears
at
that
it now because me and Ja, Rule, I don't even call him Ja. Me and Rule are like super tight, super tight. That's my guy right there.
Yeah.
And and my company does a lot of different activations for him, a lot of different partnerships. Like we do with a lot of other talent that I'll probably talk about today.
Well. Yeah, I mean, and that's the problem in and of itself, that you probably could have helped that person who interviewed you make millions of dollars, but they were so caught up in trying to, do the division competition thing. And it's because the question is disrespectful.
Exactly.
If you know who I'm here with, just to ask me that is as if you want me to show you that I am going to cut my friends back. And they might really have been thinking that as well, because we know the industry is so cutthroat.
Yeah, right.
It is so cutthroat.
I'm sorry, because I didn't even look at it that way.
Me neither. She just gave me a whole perspective.
Yeah, you gave me a different perspective because all these years, I never looked at it that way.
They might have been just trying to see, like, do you have this undying loyalty to somebody, or are you willing to sit in this room and say something? Because they might need to send you to do that. You know what I'm saying? That's how it goes.
That's why I said to me, because you're a very, very, very intelligent
I'm just saying.
woman.
I mean, I might be wrong, though.
No,
of course.
like
but
no one ever knows,
though.
but it makes
sense.
sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah, like
because why would somebody ask me that?
Like, well, let me tell you why. A possible reason they could ask it. but I love your theory on it, because no matter what, if you ask me the question, I'm always going to ride with my team.
Exactly.
But the other perception of it could be, all right, I want to see if you can be biased. All right, I know that's your friend. What do you know of Ja Rule and his ability in comparison to your friend's ability?
How do you feel?
Like, how do you feel? Do you know your friend's ability? Like,
but that's what I'm saying.
It's an out-of-pocket question.
It's still an out-of-pocket question, because you're telling me that's like somebody, you seeing LeBron and you seeing Melo, and you hang with Melo every day, and you don't watch Melo score 40, 50, 60 a game, and then before they get to the NBA and they ask you who going to be a better NBA player. I'm not. It's no way that I'm gonna go. I see. Okay, LeBron scored 40, but I know my man can score 42.
Yes,
right. So I understand that now. When you look now in hindsight, you're gonna be like, everybody's gonna be like, well, you know.
Of course, hindsight is always gonna be the 20.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, but that's okay. But I still just not gonna say it. It just doesn't. But let me just say this, because you mentioned something that I wrote down here, which is that you had an ability that you turned into a skill.
Yes.
These young folk need to learn about this. We've been educating the last 2 weeks the young folk on a lot of things, but the ability to a skill, because some people think because they have the passion, they got the talent, they have the thing, that they also have the skill set to operate it and help and use it to make them successful. There's a difference.
It's a big difference. Like the ability, when I mentioned it in the context of God planted the ability. You have what it takes to connect with people and to build. You have what it takes to make a life from yourself just from you. I planted that within inside you. The skill is now you have to work at that. You have to work at what the ability I gave you. You may have a talent to play basketball. You have the ability. But you have to work at your skill. You have to apply discipline. You have to understand where your strengths are. You have to seek counsel. You have to understand that you don't have all the answers and you want to be better. So, yes, God planted something inside of me, being the ability to connect with people, deal with people, a certain mind that he gave me. And I work at the skill of it to now, when we write a book, is the Beyond Words, the art of calculated communication. I understand that I'm putting forth the skill in something that was already planted inside of me. So, to your point, Tamika, the young people, sometimes we got to give them some time, because I didn't just wake up and get there at 20, 22, 23, 24. It was a process of getting there. God had me going straight. It was a process. But once that lightning come in and once you're unlocked, then these young people, they'll be able to get it.
Yeah, but sometimes we take too long to figure it out, and then that's where you end up, because sometimes you might also use your abilities and make them a skill set for the wrong things, you know?
Yes. Yeah, no, it's like, I used to watch cartoons, like this power, if you have it in your hand, you can use it for good or use it for evil. Not to get so spiritual, but that's when you have to have, you have to have some type of faith now to keep you on the right track with this ability and skill. Because yes, to go back to the book, right? The art of calculated communication. When you hear the word calculated, people may think manipulative or this or that. No, I'm talking about using this information in the light of how God wants you to move.
Right.
How you move with this information. How can you be calculated to get the things you need, but you're not you're not harming someone else. So, make sense?
It makes 100% sense.
So
it's like when I tell people the difference between a hustler and a drug dealer. A drug dealer can only sell drugs. A hustler can sell anything.
Yes.
And it's all in the mind frame.
Yes.
Because when you look at Jay-Z, when you look at 50 Cent, when you look at Cash Money, you watched drug dealers transform into hustlers. They realize, I'm just changing the product, right? I'm not harming nobody anymore. I'm using the same skill set, the same God-given ability to make deals and sit down with people and sell this. You want to buy? It's the same exact skill set. So once you realize that you have that ability and you turn it into skill and you use it for the right thing, it's calculated, like you said, and it's not manipulative. It's me using the best thing that I have. It's like I know that I know how to speak. I know how to make people pay attention. When I went into Def Jam's office, a lot of them was like, I don't really like this music, this, that. But when I sat down with Leo and I was talking to him and I was rapping the same songs to him, he was like, that's it right there. Watching you visually give these messages is we're going to make video. This is what he told me.
Absolutely.
And I realized this was a skill set that I had. I realized that ability. I realized that when I was talking to people, they were captivated. right? So I utilize that skill set. And that's what people have to do. You have to find the thing that you have that makes it tangible and makes it effective for you to be able to create something for yourself.
Everything you want to do in this life, you already have everything you need inside of you. You just have to find
Just
it.
like Tamika said, she used to get in trouble for talking all the time. That's all she did was talk.
For real. I was always in trouble.
Now you the voice for the voiceless. You understand? You the voice for the voiceless.
Yeah.
Everything you need to go wherever you want to go is already embedded inside of you, right? You just have to find that and harness that and work towards it. It's a term, I hope I don't mess up the last word of it, self-actualization, right? It's reaching the highest level of yourself, the highest level of understanding you, and that's something I talk about in the book. As far as your intra-personal intelligence, your intra is how you see yourself. How do you feel about yourself? What do you think about you? When you reach the highest level of understanding you, you understand that anything you want to do is already embedded inside of you. But it's a process to get there. It's a process to get there. I know it, yeah.
So tell us about your book. I'm really interested in, first of all, how you came up with the concept for the book. Did somebody help you, or was it your own idea? And then what was your writing process?
Yes, I can answer all of that. So let's start with the writing
He's so
process.
studious.
Yeah.
Yes, I can answer all of that.
'cause
Thank you.
He's a professor.
Yes, I'm a college professor, so we're gonna start there. Right?
Start there.
I'm a college professor. I've been teaching communication courses for over 12 years, right? Different levels of communication. So as a college professor, I started to understand communication on different aspects. When you ask someone, how do you define communication, right? I always ask the class, that's the first thing I ask, how do you define communication? It's speaking and this, but communication is so much more than speaking. It's so much more than words, hence the title. It's beyond words. Communication is beyond words. It's connection. So to answer your questions, this book started during the pandemic, 2020, when we were locked down. I started to write. I wanted to write a communication textbook because as a college professor, I go into the classrooms and the administration, I don't want to say any administration name, they say, hey, this is the textbook we want you to use. And I read the textbook and I go, okay, why do I have to teach these students someone else's thoughts? Like if you want me to just teach from this book and have them answer these questions, they might as well have just an independent study and do this at home. But if you want me in the class to show my ability and my skill, they're going to learn from my thoughts. So I said, you know what, let me write my own textbook. I started to write my own communication textbook and a journey with communication. All communication starts with intrapersonal intelligence. That's your conversation within. So we go from there to interpersonal communication, the relationship with you and I. How I feel about me will determine how you and I connect, right? So my intra will affect my inter. So I discuss inter, our relationships, how we build relationships. Intercultural communication, how do I connect with people who don't look like me or they're just from a different culture. We look alike, but we're not in the same culture.
Right.
And I explain that. And then how do I apply emotional intelligence? Then we transition, how do I become a leader in communication? So that's the journey of the book, and we can dig in more to it. It's one thing I said, and I don't want to ramble. When I discuss culture and communication, I start the class, I say, how do you define culture? So the class they say all these things. I say, what's an example of culture? They say music, they say art, religion, so on and so forth. And then I say one statement, and I want them to answer. What's your response to the statement? Culture and race are not the same. Culture and race are not synonymous. And I let them think for a second. They're like, well, culture and race aren't the same. Once you understand that just because you and I look alike, it doesn't mean we identify with the same culture.
That's right.
I have to realize that, understand that as I'm connecting with you, right? Yeah. We have the same skin color, right? Say we at an event somewhere and I sit down and some people over there, and I'm like, look at that Mexican woman over there. I'm joking. And you like, do you have any idea with my culture? I know we have the same skin color, but you don't know my way of life. And I could sit there, be talking to you and insulting you and not even know it.
Your father's Mexican.
Yeah, won't even know it.
It's an interesting conversation, though, because I've been asked by a number of people to chime in on Fat Joe and other Latino Latina brothers and sisters who use the N-word, right? Like people are like, oh, you're not upset. And I'm like, it's hard because I grew up in the projects in Harlem and my neighbors were Dominican and Puerto Rican. And then, we first of all, I didn't have anybody around me at that young age that was African or like getting deeper into the black race.
Right.
I was more connected to people who were of Latin descent than
Africans.
Right, I was. I mean,
That's a fact.
now I have a total different, it's kind of like flipped a little bit. I have more relationships with African, Caribbean, race individuals. But at that time, that wasn't the case. And so we all had the same exact vernacular. Like we all we spoke the same. Now, only thing that was different is that, like, my family, they were very Southern. So the folks in our building, the poppies and mommies, they didn't talk.
Right.
They didn't have that Southern thing. And then, of course, I didn't speak Spanish. You know what I'm saying? So I get why some people would have an issue with it because they want to say black, only black, 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 black. But then if you grew up in the projects where everybody was kind of the same and using the same terminology and speaking to each other that way, it's hard to now make the differentiation because Fat Joe probably wouldn't even know how to speak without being able to use certain words because that's what he's so used to.
Absolutely. Like you said, the key word, vernacular.
Right.
Right. And you make my point, and this is what I try to get the young people in my class to understand. Vernacular is a form of is a language, right? That language, it really, you got to hear me on this. Language is not race based. Language is learned. You can learn language, vernacular. So we are growing up in the same environments. We have the same vernacular. We're saying the same things. If you're on the basketball courts and you're playing basketball with Caesar, right? And he go, Mike, come on, and you fouled me. You're not going to stop the game and fight Caesar for calling. Like,
This was my best friend, so
we
had the same exact words that we said every day.
Right. You understand? Now,
and you called him that,
Yeah.
which is also a thing.
This has to be clear. I'm not saying that it's right.
We're not saying that.
I'm just saying for whoever might be listening and they try to kill us in the comments. Like, no, I'm not saying it's right. I'm trying to make the distinction to understand what culture is.
Versus race.
Yeah, culture versus race, and why that's important to how we connect and how we communicate.
Because I don't agree that it's right for us to use it either. So I'm not trying to make excuses for anybody, but we always say on this show that we are
excuse and explanation is
and we always say, because we're not perfect individuals, and we always say that we live in contradiction. That we can say Free Willie and know that Willie's supposed to be in jail because of the stuff that Willie done did, right? Like,
so
we want our friend to be free, but when we sit down and think about it, it's like, boy, Willie was a problem. You know what I mean? So it's kind of we are walking contradictions every day.
Absolutely.
We eat the food we know is killing us. You know what I'm saying? We go to the places where and shop with people who we know they don't care nothing about our community.
Right.
So we are walking contradictions, but we have to try to have a majority of sound mind to say we're not going to just let any damn thing happen in our community.
Absolutely. I totally
And
agree.
white folk can't be saying the N-word.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
like
it.
it's
That's
not.
how we see it.
That's it.
And I agree and I understand. Like I said, it's just a thought process for you to understand. Like as I pertain to the book, you just have to understand what culture and race is, and knowing that it's not the same. So I know how to communicate and deal and connect, because I can't assume anything because of how you look. I can't assume that. I can't assume that me and you have the same lifestyle because we look alike. No, we may not. We may not. So I have to, as you may have heard the saying, I have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I'm gonna listen twice as much than I speak, so I could learn who you are. Then I can connect with you. So yeah.
So give us something that's in this book that you think is paramount, that is a key element of communication. Example of something.
Wow, that's so much. Right?
That's how I am. When people ask me, what is the part about your book that surprises people the most? I'm like, the book.
Yeah. It's,
the whole book.
It's so much, right? But there's a couple components that I touch on. First, I want to mention one thing, right? So in the back of the book, I talk about calculated communication and how it pertains to my business. How Chase Republic, my agency, has partnerships with the Brooklyn Nets, partnerships with the WNBA, partnerships. How did you get these partnerships? You are an independent male, black male, small company. How did you get these partnerships? I got these partnerships through calculated communication. I attended one Brooklyn Nets game, just a regular game, as a fan. I'm gonna go watch this game. Got tickets to the game, and this one gentleman handed me the tickets. Right? I'm not gonna give the whole story away because you got to read the book. One gentleman handed me the tickets. So say this is a movie. As the gentleman handed me the tickets, and I hold the tickets, and we fast forward, you see me in the office with the owners of the Brooklyn Nets, negotiating deals just from attending one game. So that's something that's paramount. Like, how did you do that? Because everyone always asks me, like, I see you you're doing these deals with Major League Baseball, you're doing these deals with the Nets, you're doing these deals with the Liberty. How did you do it? I just went to a game. I go to games all the time. Well, get the book, and I'll show you how to do it. That's one key.
You're intentional about when you walk in a space.
Well, let's say this, right? In any room you walk into, if it's 10 people in a room, at least 2 people can help you advance. If it's 10 in any room, at least 2 people in a room of 10 can help you advance. The ability and skill is finding out who those 2 people are.
That's the Jamila T. Davis model right there.
You're not walking up to them with a clipboard like, hey, so what do? You do this? No, it's 10 people in a room. So any room that I walk into, I say, all right, I need to walk out of here with something. I need to walk out of here with something.
Like Denzel said, I'm for the hood.
I'm leaving with something. I'm leaving with something. So even if I'm getting ready for like a networking event, like, you know how sometimes you don't want to go out. I'm like, all right, let me go to this thing. Let me go to this dinner. As I'm getting there, I say, I'm leaving here with something. I'm leaving. What am I leaving with? Who's here? Who's at the? Oh, Tamika's at the dinner. Mysonne's at the dinner. All right, I know a little bit about Mysonne. I'm not going to give you away. I studied Mysonne. I watched some things. I know his son plays soccer. My daughter's a dancer. I know a little bit about Tamika. All right. Okay, as soon as I sit next to Tamika, this is what I'm going about. She mentioned something about living in Harlem, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to have a 30-minute conversation with you about Harlem. And before you know it, we're going to be doing business. My sons play soccer. My daughter dances. All right, how is it being a soccer dad? I'm telling you how it's being a dance dad. Soccer dad, dance dad, soccer dad, dance dad. We laughing, joking. Next thing you know, me and my son is doing great business. But it's strategies to get there. But you got to get the book so you can learn.
Got to get the book for the strategies.
You got to get the book for the strategies.
Next time you come, make sure you bring me a small sweatshirt so that we can do business together. Small? I don't want no extra small. I can't even fit it small.
You don't want it to
I can't even fit it small, but it just feel bad that you bought me a medium, or that wasn't effective communication.
Listen,
I needed you to bring both sizes
right.
so that I would have to take the
you
medium.
know something? Because I was in the inventory. I was looking for a small, but I found like a bunch of mediums. I'm like, all right, let me just grab this medium.
Nah, I appreciate you.
So
because now I'm at least in the loop.
Yeah.
Everybody had this stuff. I had nothing.
No, I got you. I'll make sure I take care of you.
You know, it's so much more that we can talk about, but people should get the book. You know, I find myself on my book tour just talking through everything and feeling like, are these people even going to read it? But it does encourage folks because they're like, oh, no, I have to get into the pages.
Yeah.
But I do want people to pick your book up. How can they get the book, first of all?
Yes.
And then are you out like speaking and touring? Is that something that you're open to do if somebody's listening in? They're like, oh, I need this type of person to come and speak at my school or teach a class or whatever.
Well, first answer to the question, you can pick up the book on Amazon. You can go to Amazon in the search engine and just put in It's Beyond Words by Harold Wilkerson.
No, your real name.
Harold
Wilkerson, yeah. 'Cause I couldn't put... Because I'm not saying everyone knows me. Because some people are going to watch like, who the hell is this guy, right? And that's fine. But for the people that do know me, they know Harry O. They have no idea that I'm a college professor. They have no idea that there's Harold Wilkerson. That is a whole other person. So I'm introducing the world
to Harold Wilkerson.
Well, to the people that don't know Harold Wilkerson, I'm introducing them to Harold Wilkerson. So you can get the book on Amazon. Now, to your second question, speaking engagement, to talk about the book, yes, I'm open to it. It took a long time for me to get to that point of it because working behind the scenes for so long, I'm so comfortable with saying, hey, Mice, I got something for you to do. Hey, Tamika, I got something for you to do. And I just stand back and just be comfortable. But I had to write this book for 2 reasons. well, a bunch of reasons, but 2 reasons I want to mention. I tell my daughter that everybody wants to live forever. Right? Everybody wants to live forever. Everybody, I want to live forever. But there are only 2 ways you do that. You either make a difference or you influence somebody. That's the only way your name will live forever. So I decided this year this book needs to finish and come out because I want to leave a piece of me here. Like this hopefully will live past me. So I tell my kid, well, I didn't tell her this part because I didn't want to spook her out, but whenever daddy's gone, you need to hear my voice, you could pick up the book. You're going to hear your daddy's voice all through there. So I said, all right, I could be behind the scenes still and be Harold, this executive, but I need to leave a piece of me here. It's nothing better than leaving your mind here, right? So that's why the book had to get done.
The young man. Proud of you, young man.
Proud of you
We
too,
got to get
man.
out here, go and get this book.
Yes.
It's Beyond Words, The Art of Calculated Communication by Harold Wilkerson.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Harold, my guy Harold.
I'm impressed, and I don't be saying I'm impressed.
Yes.
Thank you,
I
thank
am
you.
impressed.
What I was saying is I know Mice for a very long time. I know his intelligent level. I know his integrity. I know all these things. I have an association where we've been around a couple times, but I also know your level of intelligence. I pay attention to it. So as I was coming here, I'm like, all right, I know Mice, right? I said, but I'm sitting across Tamika. I got to bring my A game.
You came with your A game.
I got to. No, listen.
Not this was A game.
No,
I've been around. This is A game.
Thank you. Because
This
it's the truth. When you study a person from a distance, which is a part of calculated communication, when you're studying a person from a distance, you're like, all right, you know how she feels about views. She's strong, she's passionate, and she's so intelligent. And she'll call you out on BS. You better bring your A game. Like me and Mike could talk about everything under the sun when the mics are off. Everything. We could have intelligent conversations. We could have some of the most crazy conversations. But I'm like, all right, I'm sitting next to the Black Queen.
Yeah, right now, this is different. This is my job.
Yeah, exactly. So I know who I got to come with.
Job.
But
That's hilarious.
I said I had to prepare myself because I'm sitting next to Tamika, and that's why I wore the jacket. Because I said she might like the jacket by my guy Justin. I said she might like the jacket, so I'm going to wear the jacket.
Yeah, this is
I
a good
appreciate
jacket.
the reverence. I appreciate the appreciation. But, when it all gets down to the nitty gritty of it all, I'm just a regular human girl from Harlem, just like you. So I can have any conversation. You can call me and say the
This is
ignorant stuff, and we can argue about that, or we can talk about the business. But one thing I would say, I will say, is that for the most part, even an ignorant conversation, I'm always trying to find the importance of like, where are we going with this? What are we talking about? Because we're not voting for Trump. So I get it. We can joke and we can laugh, but we're not voting for Trump. Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. I want to add something because you said something, and it's in my book too, as far as calculated communication, right? So say if a person is coming to talk to you and say they have to give up their A game and they're a little bit nervous. I'm talking with Tamika, and I have this in my book. The thing to do is I have to sit across from you and find that girl from Harlem. I'm not talking to Tamika, man. No, I'm not. In my mind, it's a girl from Harlem. Talk to girls from Harlem all day. I talk to girls. So as I'm talking to you, I'm saying to myself, this is not Tamika, man. That's just a girl from Harlem. So when you're sitting across, you having a meeting with Jay-Z. Like some people are like, oh man, I got this meeting with Jay-Z.
Messing yourself up,
messing
looking
yourself
corny and stupid.
You going into this game with the wrong strategy.
Right.
Yes, this is a meeting with Jay-Z. You're having a meeting with this dude from Brooklyn. That's who you're meeting with. And you a guy from the Bronx. Like he's a dude from Brooklyn. If I go in there with his perception in my mind, I'm at a disadvantage.
Exactly.
I lost.
But let's just be clear, because people listen to every word, and they will take exactly what you're saying and apply it. Don't go to the meeting with Jay-Z talking about, yo, what's up, yo?
No,
how
not,
you doing, yo?
Not at all.
That's
See,
not that.
But in a small, because listen, when you look at Jay-Z's circle, right? When you look at Juan, right? Juan is the most authentic person.
He still ain't talking about, yo, what up, yo?
But he ain't saying yo what. I'm just saying Juan was having a regular conversation with him.
I get that.
This is, but I'm saying just to his point, right?
Yeah.
To his point was Juan ain't no executive. He a nigga from the streets that met with Jay and treated him like, yo, what's up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that
I
bond.
agree.
Like, and when I talk to Juan, me and Juan got the same. That's the way his communication is authentic all around the board.
Right.
It ain't
I
gonna
don't
change.
disagree, but I think there is a difference because some people
Oh, no, they
think
gonna go
that
in there
means
trying to be
they
young.
can come to the
But
meeting
that's not even who they be,
talking
though. Yeah, that's what I'm
loud
trying to say.
and just
See,
being.
this, and you're absolutely right. So, like the point I'm making, like as far as in with the book, no, you're not gonna go in there and be unprofessional. But if you're going to this meeting with this figure to prepare yourself for this meeting, don't think about them as the person you've been listening to their albums and watching their videos. Don't think about them that way. I need to find who you are inside that I relate
There's
to.
commonality.
Okay, yeah, I'm not Jay-Z. I didn't sell 1 million records. I didn't do this, but you grew up in the projects, this and this and that. I'm talking to that person right there. I'm mentally preparing myself to have that conversation.
Yeah, I got to
with you.
read the book because what about the people who don't want to be reminded that they're from the projects and they're
Right.
just a regular person?
But now here's the thing: they don't want to be. You're not.
you ain't gonna talk about it.
You're not talking
You're
about it at
talking
all.
to it.
It's in my head.
That's right,
It's
that's
all right.
right,
So I mean,
that's right.
let me
All
give you
right.
My last example. I'm sorry. I had a friend. Not gonna mention his name. He was dating a movie star, big movie star, and he was like, "Yo, we about to go out to eat. Yo, I'm nervous, and this and that." So I would say, "Listen, stay off her Instagram. Don't watch any of her movies. Don't do that." He's like, "Why?" I said, "Because you're talking to the perception of the person." I said, "When you're doing that, you're at a disadvantage. She's going out on a date with you. She already likes you.
Exactly.
You got a phone number. She already likes you. So, but if you sitting there watching TV looking like, oh my God, hearing everything on the radio about her, you may go at it at a disadvantage. So in your head, you got to suppress that idea of them. I'm just talking to a girl from Harlem. That's not Tamika. I'm talking to a girl from
I
Harlem.
love it. I love it. I love it.
The next thing you know, she's like, oh, I love you so much. It's so cool to be around. Like, yeah, I know. Calculated. Calculated. But yeah, you got to pick up the book for it.
Pick up the book on Amazon.
Ladies, I know what y'all gonna say about that last comment, but you know, we together.
It's called game.
All right, so
it's
now
actually game.
Now I got to say something else
No,
again. I'm
no,
sorry.
That's
'Cause
it.
It's not to be manipulative with the young
You
lady.
said that already.
Right. It's because a man
It's
can have a
giving you
natural
courage. It's giving you-
nervousness with a beautiful woman. I don't care what men tell you. They're gonna have a natural nervousness around a beautiful woman. So how do you suppress that nervous? How do you prepare for the game?
Yeah. You got a vision. It's like she got a booger in her nose.
Okay.
You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? She got a booger like
The end
everybody
of
else.
the-
Look
the
at her like
end-
she got a booger.
The end of the interview.
He's right though.
I'm telling
Thank
you,
you
like
all.
she
you gotta
messed up
booger.
too. She
Thank
got a
you so
booger.
much for your time.
She just farted just now. Come on, man. She fart. She got boogers like me. Yo, I love you. Shout out
love
to
you
my
the
brother
same.
Howard Wilkerson. Make sure you go get that book on Amazon. It's a dope book. He's a dope dude. Love you, Ken.
Love you the same.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I'm going on out of here.
Shout out to my brother Harry O. You know, I can't wait to read the book. Very smart young man.
He
man.
is a smart guy.
I watch him just grow, like literally from the sandbox, 2nd and 3rd grade. We was in elementary school together. You know, I mean, well, he went to Catholic school, but we lived right down the block from each other. You know, and he was actually one of the first people rapping on the block. Like, you know, he was the kid that was rapping. I got into it later than everybody else, and I just, you know, catapulted. So when I first got into it, he was like one of the people I was like, I'm going to get O to come with us. You know, we was picking our team of artists, and he was like one of the people that I was like, yeah, I'm going to grab him, a couple other dudes. So shout out to him, man.
Yeah,
Just
he's
watching him
very
grow.
smart, and he seems very intentional about how he lives his life. So that's a good thing. It was really, you know, it's refreshing. A lot of people like to say, well, where are the black men that do X, Y, and Z? There's many, you know, and they're not all trolls and podcasters who are spewing stupidity. There are many more young men and men, grown men, like Harry O and yourself and others that we respect. So I found his interview to be very informing, and I found him to have something unique.
Yes, very unique.
Yeah. So.
He's very unique. It's beyond words. It's the art of calculated communication. So yeah, go get that book. And that brings me to my I don't get it, because this is a perfect segue. We're talking about strong real good men, right? And I seen a post the other day from Plies, and Plies was like, "Don't matter how much you try, you can't make a fuck nigga a real nigga. It don't matter. It ain't gonna work. You could do whatever you want. A fuck nigga is gonna be a fuck nigga, and a real nigga is gonna be a real nigga, and it's gonna be a separation between the two. So I don't get it today. It's in the realm of that, right? There are women who are having babies with fuck niggas, right? And some of them is not all fuck niggas, but some of them are fuck niggas. They are having babies with men who have no intention of taking care of their kids. They just don't want the kids. Like, women are having sex with the people engage in sexual activities. They just wanted the sex. And then the woman gets pregnant. She goes to the man. He says, I want nothing to do with the baby. I do not get why a woman makes a decision to have that baby and then gets mad at the nigga that ain't taking care of the baby. I just don't, for the life of me, right? Because if I made a decision, if I come to somebody and say, hey, I'm doing such and such, are you going to be with me? And you say no. I have no expectation of you to contribute to anything after you tell me no. Right? And a fuck nigga, right? Because the average man would say, no, I don't want it. Boom, boom. When the baby gets here, his realness is going to kick in and say, you know what? I'm going to do what I'm supposed to because that's my child. But when you do that with a fuck nigga, he's going to do a fuck nigga shit.
Oh, God. Your language.
It's fuck nigga. That's what's going to happen. So what I'm saying is, when you are having a baby with a man who has no intention of taking care of a baby, I think that is a disservice to the child, because what happens is there's a child that grows up thinking that they're not wanted, right? There's a child who now they have to know that the father who created them never even wanted them to be there. They have this issues that they have within themselves, feeling like they're not wanted, they're not loved. And if you haven't figured out a way to compensate that, if you haven't decided, you know what, I'm going to raise this child independent of that man, right? I'm not even going to let the baby know that the father don't want them. But for you to have that child and then subject that child,
so then you have to protect the father. That's your job.
No, it's not protecting the father.
Well, when you say I'm not going to let the baby know,
so
that
you
the
think it's
father,
protecting the father? If I don't give a,
how else can you let a baby know when a baby says to you, what happened to my dad? Mm-hmm. There's no way for you to not let them know your dad chose not to be involved in your life. So when you say,
I don't even know if I would, if I made a decision.
Why would I not say that? That's your truth.
Because
why should I say something other than the reality?
Because I think it harms the child.
But it doesn't matter. The father is a part of the harm.
But the father,
so the mother should not be carrying the burden of all the harm.
But it's not. No, the mother is not carrying the burden of all the harm. Right? If I'm trying to protect my child, right? If this is me, protection of my child, right? If somebody comes to me, if my child is an artist and they rap, and somebody says your child is terrible, the worst fucking rapper. Why do you have
to use these examples
because I want you to understand.
I don't understand it. When
so,
you
but
did
let
that.
me say it. So let me say it first, because the world might understand. You might not get it. Let me say it so the world can get it. If somebody comes to my child sings. And they hear my child sing and they come to me and say, your child is terrible. I don't want nothing to do with it. He's horrible. And the child comes to me and asks me, what did they say about me singing? I'm not telling them that they say you're horrible. I'm going to say they just don't worry about that. We're going to go. I'm not going to take my child's pride. I'm not going to take their self-worth. I'm not going to diminish their confidence because I want to be honest with them. Right? That's not me. So when I'm making a comparison, if the father, you and the father never had a relationship or anything, and the father said, I want nothing to do with that child, fuck that child, but whatever he says, however harsh, whatever, and he lives that way. If you decide to have that child, do you think it benefits you to tell the child that the father who don't care nothing about him anyway, didn't want nothing to do with them? Or do you think it hurts the child? Who do you think that you're protecting? If you tell a child you don't even, involve that information to the child. You decide to raise the child independent, or your father passed away. I'd rather protect my child.
Yeah, I don't think that that's protecting the child, because what happens is later on in life, when kids find out the truth, they have resentment towards both parents, and particularly the parent who lied. And so I think that the whole premise of everything that you're saying is very troubling, because the start of it comes from people not having particularly unprotected sex. And we've discussed this before, or having sex at all, if we know that sex leads to babies. And so if we are having sex and a man is engaged in that, then he has to be responsible for the risk of what he's doing, just like the woman has to be responsible for the risk. Those risks are not just babies. Those risks are sometimes a disease. Those risks can be all types of things that can happen when you exchange bodily fluid and intimacy with another person. So that's first off, right? But you can't control people or make them stay in a situation where they don't want to be. So now you said something that I really take issue with, that you can't be mad at the person because they don't want to have anything to do with the child. Oh no, you could be mad at a whole lot of things. Just because you understood the chances that they wouldn't want to be involved does not mean maybe you don't have the right to feel a way to be upset.
You're 100% right.
So,
you can be.
So now, when your child is at the age, when their child is 4 years old or 5 years old, and they're asking about their dad, no. And by the way, I don't think that you can compare this to a singing career or art or something of that. This is about the other person who is responsible for them being born, for their life. So when a child that's 3 or 4 or 5 years old says to you, well, mommy, I see daddy, I see this one has a dad and that one has a dad. Why don't I have a dad? The appropriate thing that I would do is to say, listen, mommy and the people, whatever village, we love you very much. As you get older, I will explain more to you about your dad. But for now, I want you to focus on you and me, this family and what we're trying to But I don't think that you should ever lie about the circumstances. Now, when they get to be 8 or 9 and they're really concerned, they really want to know, tell them the whole story. You know what?
8 or 9?
I
don't know.
My son.
I'm telling you, for me, it just feels like a damaging thing.
My son, let me tell you something. And when I say tell him the whole story, let me finish my point. Mm-hmm. Okay? First of all, these 7 or 8 year olds are not like the 7 and 8 year olds back then. Okay, you have children that are extremely intelligent. Mm-hmm. And most of the people I know, even my granddaughter at 2 years old, I'm like, bro, how do you even know? Like, where do the concepts come that at 2, she's sitting there with a plate of food, taking her hand and putting it over it to feel whether or not it's hot? Like, I don't even know where she got that from at 2. Usually they'll just go for the food because they see it there and they assume it's good. And then once it's in their mouths, mm-hmm. She already knows these parents I have is out their mind. So let me protect myself by feeling on top of it to make sure whether or not it's cool. This is a 2-year-old. So by the time she is 7 or 8, we have friends mm-hmm. who have 7, 8, 9-year-old kids that are smarter than some of the adults that we know. Okay? Mm-hmm. So let's just be clear. What I said was tell them the whole story. So you know what? Your father and I, we got together. We really did not have a relationship. We didn't really even know one another. But on a fun day or a fun night, we got together and we made you. And your father made it clear that this is not what he wanted, and he left. And that's it. That child might be hurt, and it might feel like rejection, but I had a good friend of ours, Sadiqa Reynolds, said that she told another young person recently, life is full of disappointing moments. There's things that hurt. There are things that will make you feel good, but there's more stuff sometimes that make you feel defeated, right? And so you need to be able to deal with your true circumstances, whatever that is, at the point that you can understand and ask the questions that are necessary for you to just know who you are.
But I think when you look at a situation like that, there are a lot of quote unquote women who have daddy issues based on those situations because they've been abandoned, right?
It's more. But I promise you, and I don't know the stats on this because we can't speak to what we don't know. We've never done the numbers. But I bet you that there are more kids that have daddy issues from two things. One, not understanding, not knowing, and not having somebody who's willing to help them work through it. So that's therapy, and also being able to speak freely about the issue. I bet you it's that. And then the other one that daddy issues develop from is having the type of mother or adult who wants to use it as a weapon, that when they say it to you, they like, well, I don't know, your daddy didn't want you. He just didn't want you. That's not what I'm talking about. I am not saying that anybody should use their words, use the tongue as a weapon against the father to a child. I think that is wrong. I don't ever think that it should happen. Even with all that Jason and I went through, when my child to today and I are talking about him, and I am telling them about stuff that happened that wasn't good, and it's things in this book, and I live to tell the story that's not good. The one thing I can say to you is that I will always lead with, you know what, your father was troubled because of things that happened to him in his life. You know the story of your grandmother and your grandfather and what they went through, blah, 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 so that I can at least make sure that he understands there's context for why Jason might have been violent or angry or whatever. So I'm not sitting here saying that you should not try to make sure that your kid understand a full picture and just because some of these girls will just be like, I don't know, your daddy won shit, so that's just it. That I don't think is okay. And I think that does create issues with mental health challenges for our youth. But I cannot protect you or the child or anybody else, because guess what? I, as a woman, or she as a woman, is a human person too. So the idea that I have to defend you, raise you,
but it's not
do
defend.
all these
I don't
things.
think it's
no,
even
I'm not talking
okay.
about, I'm not saying you as a father. I'm saying the child. I have to defend you, raise you, feed you, support you, do all of these things. I'm already doing all of that. Unfortunately, I don't believe, or maybe whatever, I don't believe that the mother should also have the responsibility when two people made a decision to lay down together, understanding that procreation is the whole point of sex in the first place.
But that's not what everybody understands.
I get that,
and I want you
but
to
we
understand.
need to teach that.
Okay, but I'm not dealing with hypothetical. I'm dealing with reality. Because
that's the problem, my son. The problem is that the hypothetical is what men in many situations has made the reality. The reality is that sex produces children.
But I'm not.
But I'm just saying.
I'm not saying it doesn't. So what I'm saying is this. The reality is there are fuckboys. There are men.
That's true.
Who if they don't have a connection with you, they have no connection with a child. And if a woman understands that, conceives a child with a man who looks her dead in her face and says, I want nothing to do with you or this child, right? And then have the child, and then try to still impose that on a man that said he wasn't going to do anything, I don't think it's not a smart decision.
Well,
I just don't think it's smart. Me personally, I don't think it makes sense.
I would never put my child in the hands of a person who has said, I don't want them. I would never, because I'm not going to leave my child in a situation with somebody who does not love them or look at them as, their own and something that they want to be a part of. But I still do not believe that, one, I should not, as you've already said, that it means that I should just walk around and not feel a way, because yes, I absolutely do.
No,
I absolutely do. And I am not protecting and shielding you or our child from the truth. The truth is the truth. And at the point that I believe my child is mentally capable, which means that they are smart enough and they understand. I can't say that. I can't say that, because guess what? When these mean ass goddamn on children start saying crazy things to you, oh, you don't have no daddy, at least this and that and the third, you know what? It might hurt you, but at least you won't be going, why don't I? At least in your mind, you can walk away saying, you know what? I know exactly what happened. And I know that, you know what, my dad, for whatever point, whatever reason, has chosen not to be here. Because the worst thing is to be looking at the door and thinking maybe he's going to come, or looking at situations and thinking, well, maybe he'll show up. You know what? You need to know early on, don't look for him because he ain't going to be here. He does not want to be a part of helping to raise you and being a part of your life. You need to know that. You don't need to be thinking about maybe when I turn 9.
But you've seen situations where women have reached out to fathers who've never been there, right? And seen it online.
I'm saying no.
But I'm saying, but those things happen. And I think they deal with a lot of trauma when they still get rejected. But based on, you done told me that's my father. I'm reaching out to him. He told me he never wanted nothing to do with me.
Yeah, but I don't know about telling them at 7, 8, 9 years old exactly who the person is. Well, but there are some kids that will by the time they're 12, they'll be like, well, what is my father's name? At that point, that child, listen, let me tell you something, my son. Life is full of freaking disappointment.
I hear you, but
and things hurt.
My personal.
So what do you think what would you tell your child?
I don't know what I would tell
exactly,
my child.
And you know why you don't know? Because there's nothing to say but the truth.
But I don't know what to tell my child. But I know that I would not want a child that I have to feel unwanted. And that's why. It don't matter what. If my child was around and this was my child, I would have to take care of my child, because there's no way that I would produce a child that I'm not going to take care of my child. That's just as a man.
Just stop. Okay,
no, but I hear what you're saying. But that's just as a man. But there are some men or males who don't have that connection. They don't have that sense of responsibility. And I'm saying, I just don't understand if a woman knows that she's dealing with that level of an individual and she conceives this child regardless, how do you expect him to change? How do you expect to now impose, okay, he has to be, because that's not a reality.
I am not going to argue with you about what you can or cannot do with the father,
I'm just saying, I don't get it,
or whatever, because I'm not of the mindset that we're supposed to force people to do things that they don't want to do. And believe me, there was a time when I was probably 33, 32 and below that I did believe that, well, I need to force you. But at 44 years old, about to be 45 in almost, in exactly 32 days, I know that the time it spends to force another person to be in relationship with or whatever with you is a wasted amount of time. And even if you say or demand of somebody that they stay, or you believe that because you have kids or you're married or your daddy or the friend, the best friend, or I did something for you and you should be here, even when people stay, they stay with something in them that doesn't really want to be there. So that to me is, I don't ever want that. I don't want to force and beg anybody at all, kids or not, to do or be in my life. So I'm saying that I hear you on that. It does not mean that I'm not still going to be angry. It does not mean that I'm not going to still maybe need to get some therapy for even a bad decision that we made. I didn't make a bad decision by myself. Mm-hmm. And nobody can sit here and tell me that the way to solve this outcome of a bad decision that we made is for me to be the one to put my life in danger, to go lay on a table where I might not wake up from. I didn't say that you said that. I'm just saying you said, that's what I'm saying. Words are very important. In that whole thing where you spoke on your I don't get it, you said, why would you ever have a baby with somebody that you know doesn't want to have anything to do with a child? The real question is, why would you get pregnant by them? Because once the child is in you, having a baby is not always an option that you can get out of. Once you're pregnant, which now means you having sex with a fuckboy, because knowing that when we have sex, we can have a baby, that is where the problem starts from the beginning.
That's it. That's definitely it.
And I think that if we teach that as a reality versus a hypothetical, that we're having sex with people.
If you having sex with somebody that you don't even understand their core values, right? If you just and you have an unprotected, or you allowing
or
yourself
sex in general,
and you don't understand their core values, and you don't realize that this person is a stand-up individual that's going to take care of his business and has honor and integrity. If you are having sex with someone and you don't know those things, or if you have sex and you said fuck all that, I just want to have sex with him, then that in itself is a problem.
Well, it's a real problem. You are 100% right. All I'm simply stating is that that's not a one person or the other. It's also knowing, right? And it's when you have mastery of self, which is something that we all had to learn, and we get better and better at it as time goes on. But it's not easy for a 20-year-old, so on and so forth, when we have children that we like, damn, cool. Self-mastery means that we have to now learn that I don't want to lay down everywhere, because I know there are consequences that I could get up with. And it's not just babies. It's all kinds of things. It's also spirit intertwining. Right now, you now, if I slept with you last night and then you act crazy towards me the next day or never call me back, now that's on my heart, that I have given myself to somebody who rejected me in some way, right? Like, there's a lot of things that happen from the act of sex, and we are so addicted to the feeling of sex as people, as humans, that we forget that we're leaving a trail of shit behind us with each person that we lay down with. And so I'm just saying that it's helpful for us to start teaching and not starting conversations at if you have a baby and then the person doesn't want to be involved. If you even have sex with a dude, who is telling you you might not have even asked him that. That's the scary part. To your point about knowing somebody's core values, you got to at least ask somebody, hey, if something happens in this situation, where we at? And if a dude says to you, I ain't trying to have no babies. I mean, I literally watched a dude on Instagram say, if you one of them kind of people that's looking for a child and a family and a thing, I'm not your guy at all. I don't even want to have nothing to do with that. So my thing is,
now when you go have sex with that guy and get pregnant, and then you say, yo, you got to step up and you need to be a father, that's an issue for me.
Yeah, but it's on. Okay, so I agree with you, but I need it to be an issue with you for two. What I see, and you and I argue about this all the time, so we're gonna just leave this alone. And I'm not gonna say another word. You got the last word, Isha. I don't get it segment. Mm-hmm. What I notice is that men have a lot of smoke for women and what women should and should not do with our bodies and how we should conduct ourselves. When I would love to hear your perspective on why a man who knows that he does not want a child is even out here slinging and danging around. Because that in itself is problematic. You now, because you didn't want something, you wanted the feeling. Listen, Elliot, our brother, who is the most amazing therapist and mental health expert in the world, Elliot Connie. He says something that was so powerful about Shannon Sharpe that it just arrested me. Like, I love that when people make me sit. He said that Shannon Sharpe had nothing at 56 years old in common with a 19-year-old, which we've all said nothing was in common. Nothing. But he was using her for sex. So you can't be mad when she now wants to use you for money and clout. Everybody's using each other.
That makes sense.
So what people need to do is, and maybe he did the thing. So let me be careful about that, because he might have did the thing that she said, which makes her feel like she deserves whatever. Fine. I'm not sure. We don't know, but we gonna find out. But nonetheless, still you put yourself in that situation by messing with this child in the first, I don't care what nobody says, teenager, it's a child. At 19, Okay, so now I want you to listen to how your mindset goes to how a woman should protect herself. Because I guess you're saying the baby is her baby, so she's the one. Once she births it, she got to take care of it. So you should be more careful. I get that, but just imagine what comes back to us and the karma that we deal with as a man who has a child walking around in the world that does not have his father. I'm not sure who gets it worse. The mother who ends up taking care of the baby and doing the things that she needs to do to raise a decent, at least human, or the father who was honest that he didn't want it and he ends up with a child that he's not taking care of. I want to know who is going to have a better story when they get to the gates and have to have a conversation with their Lord.
Well, I mean, if we talking about the Lord, then we're not. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not about right, wrong, good, or bad. It's about the common sense issue.
Okay.
And that's all I've always broke it down to. Like, I'm not saying, it's just like when I said, yo, if a girl walks down the block and she's naked and somebody rapes her, she's not responsible. Nobody should rape her. But we still got to understand that there are rapists out there that will rape you. And if you walk down an empty, dark block, the probability of somebody raping you exists. So why put yourself in a position to where even, and there's no justification, nobody should rape you is what I'm trying to say. So there's no justification. A man should take care of his children. But if you are aware that you're dealing with a man that ain't, and you still holding him to this criteria, it's like, I don't understand that. I don't think it benefits the child. I think that it's something that the mother has personally made a decision, that you made a decision that regardless of how it affects you or this child, that this is how you're going to go about it. And when you're dealing with somebody on the other side that don't give a fuck at all, like, how does it benefit you?
I don't think it benefits anybody, but I just tell you one thing. I am learning.
And also I was saying is this. If a woman, you know how many men have made babies that they don't know nothing about, or just a woman decided and they wanted a child, and woman went and decided, I'm not having no baby. Never said nothing to him, or probably told him, I'm not having a baby. Men deal with the same shit all the time. We've had to deal with situations where women terminated. I know a nigga that begged a woman to have his baby, and she said no. Begged her, went to the thing with her, please, and she can't. So these things happen all the time.
You know that I talk a lot, so I said that I wasn't going to say anything else, but I tell you what I do need to say. It really just amplifies the idea that God made us to need one another. Like, we have to have, it's no way for us to do what you're talking about without both of us being involved in this decision. So it's a lot of us as women who say we don't need men. It's a lot of men walking around here like, oh, these chicks, I don't care. I saw a man on the internet the other day said they're making better dolls for sex than the feeling that he has from the women that he's been with. I think that's crazy as hell. But nonetheless, that's what he said. But
why
if
are you thinking crazy when y'all got a rose? Women walking around with the rose.
First of all, I don't have a rose.
I said women walking around with a rose.
Choice.
But there are women.
So I don't know which woman you talking about.
Walking around saying they got
okay,
rose.
well,
and it's the best
that's fine.
thing.
If you want to know, ask me questions. Let me tell you what brand I use.
But I'm talking about what women are saying.
Janice is cracking up.
I'm telling you what women say.
But I ain't with the rose. So, but anyway, I'm just saying, I would never sit here and say that any sex toy that I have ever had in my life was better than men.
Women saying
okay, I guess it is. I'm saying I don't agree.
Okay.
So all I'm just saying to you that from God's perspective, you done got me. This show has put me in my spiritual bag. Okay, it started with Harry O. From God's perspective, there is no way at all for us to fulfill what it is that we are supposed to be doing, which is to bring forth life and bring forth fruitful life without one another. So we ought to try to find a way to get past some of this he and she and what you did and what I did and what this and that, and just know that we better figure it out, and we should stop taking advantage of or not being conscious of what it is that we're doing with our bodies. So that's it. And I mean us too. And believe me, I will continue to tell women, I don't even know why you slept with bruh, because you know bruh ain't nothing. I told you that when I met him. You know what I'm saying? But y'all need to be telling men, bruh, stop laying down with these women, and you know you don't want to take care of your kids, because you could do a lot of things in life. You could sell some dope, You might be able to even hurt somebody, right? And I don't agree with any of that. I'm just saying you could do a lot of things. But not taking care of your children, that is something that you will never, ever be able to live down.
But I'm saying, and I believe you, and I agree, but there's some men who don't give a
No,
fuck.
well, they will. When they look up and figure out that the rest of their whole life
But you realize
is troubled.
But some men, it's men who haven't took care of a child, and their life is perfect.
Nah, they think it's perfect. They
run
know
into
it's not.
life
You just don't know.
Based on the success and everything, they just live
Success,
life.
what you told me earlier. Success don't equal everything.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Sometimes
But
you
I'm just
could be
trying to tell you-
successful sick. You could be successful mentally ill. You could be successful lonely. You could be successful stupid.
It's bad people that are winning.
That's true. In
And
their
that's the
mind.
story.
In their mind.
Yeah.
But some of the bad people think they're winning and they don't. Because guess what? It's true. There are bad people who win. We see that. People die. Go to their grave with stuff that, they did or people they harmed or whatever. And it never really appears that they paid for it. But at the end of the day, what we know is that sometimes you could just take shit a little bit too far. Like, you need to be humble enough to know I made a mistake, I've done wrong, and I might not be able to fix that. But I can't live everywhere in my life crazy. And not taking care of your kids, that's a rough one. I don't believe in that. But anyway, thank you.
Good conversation. Y'all give us your feedback on this. I know this is going to be one of those controversial topics, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I've been seeing it going on. They had the situation with Anthony Edwards and his baby mother, and there's been a lot of back and forth about that. So I just was giving a
With the
perspective.
mother of his child.
With the mother of his child.
Yeah.
But that was that, and that brings us to the end of another episode of TMI. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, TMI _show. Make sure you follow us on YouTube at TMI Show PC. We need all the subscribers, all the followers. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us. Give us ideas for shows, who you want us to interview. Tell us your favorite interview. Give us all the feedback. We love y'all. We're going to continue being the #1 show in the world. I'm not going to always be right. Tamika's not going to always be wrong, but we will both always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.
That's how we own it.